This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Robert Fekkes, Nurser330 on Instagram.
Nice. And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, and you can like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. In addition to that, you can also check out our other podcasts at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. We have a Twilight Zone podcast that I do called Anthology, and we also have a Stephen King/Dark Tower podcast called Tower Junkies. I'm your aforementioned host, Matt Hurt, that I did not change the notes from the last episode. Everyday gangster and charter member of the Speedway Sparkplug Mafia, Matt Hurt. And with me today is recurring co-host Robert Fekkes.
Hello.
Hello. How is it going?
It's going well.
Nice. I didn't ask you when we were doing Patreon, but how was work?
It was slow, thankfully. We've been really busy the last few weeks, and it's becoming tiresome.
I can imagine, especially with the heat. Yeah.
Yeah, heat don't bother me.
Oh. Cool. It bothers me.
Yeah, well, good.
Yeah. Whenever... So stupid. I don't even remember if I said this on another podcast, but anytime someone... Like, I've only heard someone say this, like, in the vicinity of me, like, once. But anytime I interact with someone and they, like, do their kind of default, like, oh, it's hot out there,
right,
or whatever, I want them to say, like, oh, stay cool out there. And then, like, in my head, I would just respond and be like, oh, I don't need to worry about staying cool.
Yeah.
I never leave my apartment. I don't do anything. Yeah. So anyway, so this is our third of 3 retrospective episodes on the directing work of Quentin Tarantino, all in the lead up to the release of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is coming out as of this recording in about 48 hours.
Yeah, it comes out, drops Thursday.
Yep. Unfortunately, it wasn't screened for critics here in Indy. Otherwise, I would have been able to see it. I'm very kind of sore about that.
Damn Tarantino.
Yeah, but it's getting tons of really good buzz. And every time I see the trailer, I just get, I don't know, I get so excited for it.
I know, I'm pumped. It just looks so good.
And, like, and kind of tipping our hat to this episode a little bit here, going through these 3 movies that we're going to talk about today, like the last 2 being like Western movies and going back to a more not contemporary movie, but like something set like in.
Well, it's different, you know, so it's a good change of pace.
Exactly. I'm really looking forward to that. Like I would feel a little tiresome if like it was another Western movie, but if it had Kurt Russell in it, I wouldn't care.
It's true.
Because he is a national treasure. So he's from America, right?
Yeah.
He's not Canadian or anything.
I'm fairly certain he's American.
Weird like that,
right?
Yeah. Anyway, so today on this retrospective, we're going to be talking about Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, and the Hateful Eight. If you want to check out our other retrospective episodes of Quentin Tarantino, the last 2 episodes are live now, episode 287 and 288. You can find those at obsessiveViewer.com/OV287 and OV288 respectively. So, Fekkes, before we get into it, once again, we are going to be spoiling all 3 of these movies. So we're gonna go spoilers free. So if you haven't seen Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, or The Hateful Eight, go watch them and come back and listen to this. So spoiler warning on. Let's dive in. So Fekkes, first of all, how did you feel going into these 3 movies, and what was your attitude? I know you had some reservations about The Hateful Eight.
Well, starting with Inglourious Basterds, that I had the biggest of expectations for that because of the trailer. Like, I just remember the trailer just drawing me in immediately. Like, the trailer was Brad Pitt giving the initial, like, speech to the Bastards.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, I'm in. Tarantino, World War II, killing Nazis. Done. It's great. I don't even need to see the movie. I know it's amazing.
Nice. I actually meant before, like, going into this.
Going in. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was super excited to rewatch Inglourious Basterds and Django Unchained.
Nice.
And then I was curious to rewatch Hateful Eight.
Nice.
So
yeah, I was curious to rewatch Django Unchained, and I was excited to watch Inglourious Basterds and The Hateful Eight again. So yeah, we'll talk more about that here in a bit. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And the German will be sickened by us. The German will talk about us. And the German will fear us. Nazi ain't got no humanity. They need to be destroyed. Each and every man under my command owes me 100 Nazi scalps. And I want my scalps.
Let's go ahead and talk about Inglourious Basterds, though. So you were excited from the trailer.
From the get-go.
Yes. So I take it to, like, you caught it in theaters.
I did catch it in theaters.
Yes.
I don't remember the theater experience itself, but I know I saw it in theaters.
Nice. Honestly, I don't remember if I saw this in theaters. The first time I saw Inglourious Basterds may have been when Tiny and I worked together as security guards. I think we may have watched it one night at work.
Oh, wow.
Because we worked third shift as security guards and had nothing to do.
It's fair.
I'll have to consult my records, but I'm pretty sure that's the first time I saw it. And I don't know why.
That was a big release.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, it's not like I was. It wasn't like I was disappointed with anything Tarantino
right.
did. Like, I really liked Death Proof. I liked Grindhouse. And I mean, that was only 2 years after those movies came out. So it's like, it's not like there was a lot of time or anything between them. So I don't know. Maybe I did see it in theaters. I just don't remember. But yeah, but when I saw it, I was, super excited about it. So yeah, first of all, the cast.
Yeah, the cast is spectacular.
Incredible. And I love it. Okay, this was the the breakout role, at least in the States, of Christoph Waltz.
Yes, this really introduced him to the United States.
Yes.
And everyone fell in love with this Nazi.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I will go on record as saying it. That opening scene with him at the farm,
it's amazing.
Honestly, I really think that might be like my single favorite scene in all of Tarantino's work.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'd have to do some thinking to commit myself, but it's an amazing scene.
It's just the way that it's so self-contained, and like it is so much. It's just that palpable tension.
Yeah,
and he's incredible. Like he just is so commanding in it.
As such a short-statured man too. Like he owns the room, intimidates this man in his own household. Like it's crazy to watch. It's so well done.
Yeah.
And the dialogue sequence between French and English, it's flawless.
Yeah. And like just the way that he talks and the way that like French sounds coming from him is like I could just watch like him talk French to me all day.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's weird. Yeah. But no, it's so incredible because like you said, he's a fairly small statured man, and like I think that's what, in terms of his performance throughout the movie and also into Django, is that he is almost an unassuming person in terms of just, general like looks and build and everything.
Right.
But
until he starts to talk.
Oh yeah. He is so he can become one of the more intimidating characters I can think of, and it's just through vocal work essentially.
And there's a scene in Inglourious Basterds, I think, that demonstrates this amazingly well. And it's a scene where they're interviewing Shoshana under the guise of
picking the theater for the
yeah. And so what's the name of the soldier? Daniel Bruhl. So he's off camera and is just showing Shoshana, and he asks in German of Hans Landa if he has anything to worry about, and in German he's like, that sounds suspiciously like a private questioning the orders of something or other. But just and I don't speak German, but just the tone of that retort off camera, you're just like, don't fuck with this guy.
Yep. And it's like, that's amazing. Like, just the fact that tone and that tone really can transfer across language barriers is like really on another level in terms of just performing in a scene. It's really good. And he is so, God, he's so great. Like, I'm bummed that we didn't get him in the Hateful Eight, but we'll talk about that when we get to the Hateful Eight. But like, just these two movies.
Like, if ever anyone deserved an Oscar more in their performance, it's there right there. I mean, that he was going to win that Oscar.
Oh, totally. Did he win twice?
He won for Django
and for Inglourious Basterds?
Yeah.
That is so awesome. God, he's amazing. And
he is.
I'm so glad that because like we've gotten so much. I mean, he's worked so much in the last his career dates back a long time in terms of like Austrian and German movies and stuff. His earliest credit on IMDb, I lost it. I don't know. Anyway, he worked for like several years.
Before doing an American movie.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. I'm going through his IMDb. I don't think I've seen him in anything that I didn't like. Like, I didn't like his performance in it.
Like, he got his obligatory comic book movie after Inglourious Basterds. He was the bad guy in Green Hornet. And that was a completely forgettable movie.
Yeah. So,
yeah, there's not a whole lot. I'm with you. There's nothing I've ever seen of him, and I was like, well, that was a poor performance by old Christoph. Like, he was a great Bond villain.
See, I never saw that either.
Really?
Yeah.
That surprises me.
I know. But
I think he's coming back for the next one, too.
Yep, that's what I heard. But he was also great in, like, Horrible Bosses 2 and Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah.
He was good.
I liked him in Alita.
Me too. Yeah, so he's great. But the rest of the cast also is astounding. Like, one thing that I kind of wish that we would have gotten more of is that the actual, like, the Bastards.
See, now, I agree, and I really feel like the Bastards could have been like a standalone, like, HBO TV show, like their exploits through France.
Absolutely.
So, that would have been a really cool idea, but it's funny because going into the movie, I kind of had a different perception of what kind of movie I was getting into. I was expecting like a gory, nonstop action Tarantino fest, and what you got was nothing of the sort. Like, you had a couple of scenes where they were being the Bastards, but it wasn't overwhelming the movie, and I think it was much to the film's benefit.
Oh yeah, like I wish that there was more Bastards in it, but the lack of the Bastards or the way that it jumps around a little bit was not to the detriment, because I would say that, and we're jumping a little bit ahead, but all the stuff with the theater, like, I adored that.
Yeah. The entire theater sequence was fantastic.
Absolutely. And like, just the idea of it, like, I don't know, there's something, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit in the last episode, but there's a certain kind of lack of depth, I guess, would be kind of a derogatory way to describe it. But like, in terms of Tarantino's movie, there's not a lot below the surface that I can detect, at least. Like, it's very pulpy, kind of like action stuff, which is fine, like totally fine. He has some of the best like dialogue and just anything in the game. But I feel like there's a lot more to Inglourious Basterds than in his other movies. Like, just the way that it's kind of romanticizing like cinema and the movie theater and like the movie house, and how it's like literally like she's using film to take down the Nazis.
Right.
It's like it's powerful imagery and stuff, and like that's another the reason why I'm excited for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because that in its own unique way seems like kind of a love letter.
I was just gonna say it's gonna be a love letter to Hollywood.
I can't wait. But here in Inglourious Basterds, it's just like it's a kind of a powerful like imagery and everything, and it's so just it strikes that balance between just like goofy, almost comedy, with like this intensity,
like suspense. Like there's so many suspenseful scenes in this.
Yes.
In this movie, you have the beginning scene. Mm-hmm. You have the scene with her talking to the Nazis about using the theater for the movie. You have the scene where the bastards are in the pub with the SS commander. That's an amazing scene.
Like, so many of these scenes could just be like their own self-contained thing. And like that pub scene, holy shit, that was incredible.
And like you watch that scene, you're just like, this is just getting terribly.
Yep.
It's like it is. There's no way around it. But it's great dialogue and great performances with Michael Fassbender. It's just so good. And you watch the scene and you're like, why does this fucking drunk asshole have to ruin this entire thing? It's like, walk away, man. You're fucking ruining it.
Yep.
And
I was as I was watching, because it had been probably like a year or two since I've seen this. For some reason, I couldn't remember what it was that tipped them off. Like, I remember I remember that Michael Fassbender did something to tip them off, and like there are a few moments in it where I'm like, oh, they're getting off scot-free. Maybe I'm misremembering it, and they so didn't. Man, just so good. And Diane Kruger.
Oh yeah,
she's really good. Yeah, oh yeah. Even for like a character that Tarantino's kind of known for, this is like introducing characters fairly late in the movie. He does in all three of these. Like he packs them with so much like power and like powerful backstory that it's not a detriment to the runtime or anything like that. Yeah. So
yeah, she was very good, and she was in another scene that was just suspenseful, and it was with her and Hans Landa.
Yes.
And when he's kind of like telling her, like, yeah, I know it was fucking you. So so she was in great scenes. She was great in the pub scene too. So. Yeah, there wasn't a bad performance out of this. Brad Pitt was amazing.
And and like you've referenced in like the scene where from the trailer where he's like
I want my scalps.
Yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not preaching. Like he's yelling. No, there's a word. Like he's
inspiring,
announcing, podcasting, addressing, I guess he's addressing the bastards, and like it's so great. Like it's such a great like I don't know. There's an energy to it that really carries through. And like, let's talk about the casting of the bastards too. Like BJ Novak's like, okay. Sam Levine from Freaks and Geeks.
Then Eli Roth
as the Bear Jew.
It's just a random amalgamation of people, which I guess that that makes sense. They're a bunch of just soldiers from wherever in the United States. So they're not all going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger,
right? But I love that about it. They're not the A-Team or anything. They're not like the crew from Predator or anything. They're just a bunch of guys. Like, and like Paul Rust is in there from oh god, what was that movie? He's been in a bunch of. He's in Love, the Netflix show.
Haven't watched it.
Like just kind of not impose. None of them are imposing figures or anything.
Well, Eli Roth's pretty imposing, but
yeah.
Did you know Eli Roth directed the Nation's Pride movie?
Did he really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I thought that was a cool little tidbit.
Mm-hmm. I keep seeing, like, in the trailer for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they do, like, there's a movie within the movie where, it's like killing a bunch of Nazis and stuff.
Right.
I wonder if that's going to be a similar kind of, like, if he had, like, a guest director. I guess we'll find out. But anyway.
He wouldn't be the first. Like Tarantino guest directed in Sin City, and like Robert Rodriguez did some of the sound work on maybe Inglourious Basterds.
Okay, nice. But yeah, the violence is so satisfying.
Yeah, it's not over the top like in like Kill Bill. It's somewhat real, not fully realistic, but more realistic than some of his other stuff has been.
Carving the swastika in Hans Landa's Landa, his forehead at the end. That was like the one like.
Yeah, that really got.
It's like, but also it's like I'm like sitting there like I don't know if it's just because it's Nazis or if I'm just that desensitized, but I'm like this isn't bothering me. Like fucking do it.
Fuck that guy. He needs it.
I did, and the cynic in me. Like when I first saw the movie, the first time I saw the movie, coming out of it, it felt like it was a little self-indulgent for like the last line of the movie to be.
I believe this is my masterpiece. But you know what? Yeah. Was he wrong at the time?
No, he wasn't.
Because it was like I walked out of that movie just like that was amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if he thinks it's his, it's not like he's saying, you know what, this is the greatest thing in the history of this. No, he's saying this is my best work so far. And if that's what he thinks, I'm okay with him saying it on camera.
And see, and that's the thing. Like, I don't, and maybe that's just a cynical viewpoint. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe that wasn't intentional.
Yeah, I think it was pretty evident. So, and maybe he doesn't feel that way now, but I think probably at the last part of it. He probably thought, at finishing, it was like, yeah, I love this. I think I did an amazing job. This is my masterpiece.
What if the last line of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like, I think this is my second masterpiece. Or like just completely break the fourth wall and be like, hey, I found the script called Pulp Fiction that I can make in 30 years. I don't know. Anyway, that went out off the rails. Yeah. But, the setup, like the tension of like this, like all the moving pieces, at the end, like kind of culminating with the destruction of the theater and everything is just so, it's so riveting. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, the kind of heist sequence in Jackie Brown.
Sure.
But on like a bigger level, obviously. But it's what he does so damn well is plotting the.
It's just a shame that the intricacies. Eli Roth and Dominic DeCoco or whatever his name had to just fucking blow themselves up.
Yeah. That was a bummer.
Yeah, you guys kind of got a little carried away there, huh? Forgot that you had dynamite strapped to your ankles. Yeah. So,
I did love the Eli Roth scene where he's coming out of the. I don't know if there was a tunnel or something.
Like knocking the baseball bat. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I kept thinking, like, I actually paused the movie and I Googled when The Walking Dead issue 100, came out. Cause I was like, is Eli Roth like in baseball? Is he the original Negan? Cause issue 100, like before Negan is introduced to The Walking Dead, like that it was after,
Inglourious Basterds.
So I wonder if there's any influence there. Yeah. Cause I don't know if you know this, piece of trivia, at no point in any entertainment media or anything, a baseball bat was never used for violence.
Yeah, never.
Before Inglourious Basterds.
Not that I could ever think of.
Yeah. But so imposing. Like, Eli Roth is ripped. Like, first of all.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah. And he's just like that. Again, just the intensity, like the dialogue and the way that it's just built up is just really good.
I love the line when he tells him to fuck off. He's like, actually, we're all just tickled to hear you say that. Seeing him bash you guys' heads is as close as we get to seeing the movie these days.
Yes. So good. And then as soon as he's like done just demolishing this guy, he goes into full like New Yorker kind of dialect and stuff. And it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's really good.
It's a good scene.
Yeah. Yeah. So how'd you feel about the story overall? Like,
I thought it was a great story. Like it's fictionalized history, which it's fine because it's a movie. Yeah. I thought they did a really good job of bringing all the little story pieces together at the end. I love how one piece of the story affects what's going to happen with the others. Like they're talking about the change of venue, and they're like, no one knows why this venue is changed. Like, I know why, because this guy has a crush on this. So I like how it all just kind of culminates in the big story at the end, and then boom.
Yep.
So yeah, literally, boom.
Yeah. The Daniel Bruhl's, I guess, relationship with Shoshana in the movie is so interesting to me. Like that, it has so many interesting kind of layers to it. Like him kind of courting her in a sense,
or trying to,
is so. Like that was some of the more compelling. That was like the most compelling non-Hans Landa stuff.
Like, why would this soldier think that this, Parisian would be okay with the advances?
And that's what I love about it, because he's like a Nazi, and like he is so. Maybe I'm reading more into it, but it's like he's so caught up in the faux humbleness of his stature within his ranks and everything. Like he's a celebrity and everything, and like he kind of tries to use that to impress her,
right?
But it's like, no, you're a fucking monster,
right?
Like, that's not.
You're a Nazi guy. Calm down.
Yeah. It's
but he doesn't see it like that,
Exactly.
He's a war hero, and that he's viewed that way through his ranks. So he thinks that should gain him favor with everybody.
Yep. And I think that that's some of the more interesting writing that Tarantino's done, at least at this stage of his career. I just think that that's really interesting, the way that that character is drawn.
And I like how she's like, stop being a child. You know why I don't want to fucking talk to you.
Yeah. And just the added, okay, we talked a little bit about in one of the past movies that I can't remember now, the kind of, Kill Bill, like the kind of lack of backstory, or the delayed backstory that we get. Whereas like here in Inglourious Basterds, we get immediate backstory. Like her character, we are introduced to her in that opening scene. And like, so we have that context, and like, even though, it could just be written off as like, oh, well, he's a Nazi, he's a monster and everything. That's why. It's also because, her family was murdered, hunted and murdered and everything. And it's just, it's so really like, it might be it's very high up there for one of my favorite, like, Tarantino movies. Just cause I love that extra layer to it.
It's high up there. I go back and forth on what my favorite Tarantino movie is, so.
Well, next week we are going to have to rank our Tarantino movies.
Okay. It's the rule.
That's the rule. I was also going to say,
I could probably get that done.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, it'll be like that, like how I'm feeling at that particular time of recording, because it'll fluctuate. But, I also wanted to say, like, maybe we could try to, like, discuss, like, some of the other, like, his segment in Sin City, and like maybe talk about True Romance a little bit, even though you didn't.
I've never seen it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Oh, wow. Very good. Very good.
I hear.
Yeah. Anyway, so Inglourious Basterds. Anything else? I feel like Did
you notice? Well, obviously you noticed the cameo of Samuel Jackson. Mm-hmm. Tarantino's 2 cameos.
Oh, I can't remember now.
He is one of the Nazis getting scalped in the forest scene.
Okay, I missed that, but isn't he also in Nation's Pride?
No, he is the hands that are strangling Diane Kruger.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
And Harvey Keitel is the voice of the general over the radio that's making the deal with Hans Landa at the end. Oh, no
shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I had no idea. Interesting.
There you go. The more you know.
Yep. Michael Fassbender was really good, and like, I forgot just how brief he's in the movie.
Yeah, he is. He's introduced. Boom. Michael Myers too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought that was random, but I thought it worked.
Yep. I kind of wish that. I don't know how it works with like, unions or whatever, but like, I kind of wish that his name wasn't in the opening credits, because like that would have been a nice little surprise. Mike Myers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this is ridiculous. How do you feel about his performance here versus Bohemian Rhapsody?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
Just two
English guys.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, anything else on this? The kind of climactic deaths scenes, overall, like, I'm thinking more in terms of just Shoshana and her end.
Yeah,
the destruction of the theater.
Like, not talking about the destruction in the theater, but her last scene with Daniel Bruhl, I thought it was appropriate.
Yeah.
So,
and we'll talk about this technique in the Hateful Eight when we get to it, but the use of like slow motion, I thought was good here.
yeah,
we'll talk about it in Hateful Eight, but here I thought it was appropriate for the action that was happening. I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember now. Yeah, I guess that's Inglourious Basterds. Yeah.
Great movie.
Very good movie.
Tarantino says he will never reveal why he misspells bastards.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah. Wow. Fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But yeah.
The reason he misspelled bastards is in Marcellus Wallace's suitcase. It was funny because I was, when I watched Inglourious Basterds, I was going to immediately follow it up with watching Pet Sematary, because me and Tiny were going to review it on Tower Junkies, and we ended up reviewing it on Tower Junkies, but I just thought, like, it didn't pan out that way, but I was really bummed because I really wanted, like, my letterbox to be like Inglourious Basterds and Pet Sematary, like 2 movies that have misspelled titles. Like the misspelling double feature. But
yeah.
Anyway, next time. But yeah, I think that'll do it for Inglourious Basterds.
That'll do.
Shall we move on to Django Unchained?
Django.
Yes. So here is a clip from the trailer for Django Unchained, and we are going to go into it now.
Gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
How do you like the bounty hunting business?
Kill white folks and they pay you for it? What's not to like? I like the way you die, boy.
He is a rambunctious sword, ain't he?
What's your name?
Django. The D is silent.
So, I have to get this off my chest. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast or not. So I have a Vudu account, where I have a digital library of digital purchases and everything.
Right.
And Vudu has this really cool feature where you can, it's through Walmart that you can buy, it's disc plus digital. So like you can buy a physical purchase of a Blu-ray. They will send you the Blu-ray through the mail, through Walmart, but they will give you access to the digital copy immediately.
I think you've brought this up on before.
Okay, yeah. It bummed me out because there was no digital copy on it. Because I like to give a friend of the show, Robert, not you, digital copies. Like we swapped digital copies with that. So I was like bummed because I didn't get a digital copy with that, even though I have a digital copy. But anyway,
Weak.
Yeah. Also, it feels like the disc was, or the casing was tampered. It was like a used copy. Anyway, Django Unchained. So I did see this in the theater. I actually remember somewhat vividly. I saw this in the theater as like one of those like kind of Sunday afternoon after it had been out for a while. So like it was like one of the smaller auditoriums, and I don't remember. I feel like maybe only like 2 or 3 people were in the theater with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was one of those because it was late in the theatrical
on the run.
It may have also been one of those situations where yes, oh my god, yeah. An older couple were seeing the movie, and they clearly didn't know
what they were getting into.
They were getting into. They ended up leaving, I think, after like 20 minutes. And I was like, that's so weird. They're so offended by seeing him on a horse. But Django Unchained. First of all, theater experience. Did you see it?
I saw it in the theater. In fact, I didn't get to see it when I wanted to. Our plan was to go see it because it dropped on Christmas Day.
Oh, okay.
And it's tradition. We always go see a movie on Christmas Day, and we were going to go see that one. It was sold out.
Oh, nice.
So I didn't get to go see it then. So I had to wait like a week or two to see it. But I did see it in the theater. And
do you remember what you saw on Christmas Day instead?
Maybe Jack Reacher.
Oh, okay. That's not a bad
I think
trade-off.
that might have been it. But yeah, I was disappointed. I really wanted to see Django Unchained.
Yeah.
It's all right then.
Yeah. So how excited were you about it?
I was extremely excited. I was pumped from the get-go just because you're coming off of Inglourious Basterds, and then the trailers had me hooked on this one too. You brought back Christoph Waltz, like the whole premise, like Tarantino Western. I was sold. Like, I'm in there. I'm gonna see this, and it's gonna be great.
Yep. I was very much looking forward to it too, and I remember really liking it in the theater, and I remember enjoying it in the theater. I think it was one of the situations where I was kind of tired, and I don't know if this, because I just rewatched it a couple days ago, and I think that was the first time I've seen it since the theater.
Oh wow, no, I've seen this multiple times since theater.
It's interesting. So let's dig into it. First of all, Christoph Waltz again
knocks it out of the park.
Incredible. Just
amazing opening scene.
Amazing opening scene. Amazing subsequent scenes.
Yeah.
He has this energy to him. Again, like he's not, it was so nice to see him play like that, like kind of other side of the coin.
Right.
Like,
it's good to actually like his character for being a good guy. So,
and he's just, God, that guy.
He knows how to. He steals the scenes. I mean,
really does.
He's just. You can't take your eyes off him. He's an amazing, just vivid performance. He's great,
and he communicates so much in his performance. Like at the end, we're skipping well ahead, but in the end, when he shoots Candy, and like just the way he just looks at Django and he's like, I couldn't resist. Or
right?
He just gets blown away. Like, oh my God, I'm so glad he got the Oscar.
Yeah, he, again, deserved every bit of it.
Yep. How did you feel, how did you feel about Tarantino in a Western setting? Like, how did you feel he captured the Western kind of film?
Well, first of all, I think Tarantino has an amazing eye for the cinematography of Westerns.
Yes.
I think he knocks it out of the park. And every single atmosphere that they are in, he just has great panoramic vision, and it's very much like he's got that Western cinematography down.
Totally agree, and it almost makes me wish that he had done Westerns sooner, just for that panoramic kind of view. Because there's something about the way that he shoots those like vistas that is just, it brings you into the time and the world so freaking well.
Yeah, it's every shot is beautiful, especially his wide shots for this movie are incredible.
Absolutely. Jumping around a little bit, they're not the KKK. They're like the prototype KKK.
Yeah, like
the name of it, but
yeah, they were gonna be the KKK.
Yeah. So great.
Oh, that scene is amazing.
I loved it.
I think we're all saying that it was good in theory, but has to have a better execution. I'm just, fuck y'all, I'm going home. Jonah Hill's random performance.
Oh my God, that was great.
Yeah,
I think I made it worse.
That's such a good scene because it's so ridiculous.
It is so ridiculous.
But you could just see these hillbillies having this conversation.
Oh, and the satisfaction of just them blowing up the wagon.
Right.
It's just so great. It kind of, I guess this reminds me of that, but, in Red Dead Redemption 2, when you kind of come across, there's like a part where you come across
the KKKs and they set themselves on fire. Yeah.
So great. So the kind of the relationship between Django and Dr. King Schultz. How did you feel about their relationship and how it developed and everything? That kind of nurturing kind of mentor-mentee kind of relationship.
I think it was like I had a great time with their relationship. I thought they had a lot of good chemistry from the get-go, and it was really interesting watching the whole relationship evolve from the point where he first meets Django to the end. Like the part where he brings him to the town after he had just purchased him, and he shoots the guy down, and Django's just like, the fuck is going on here? And then towards the end, when you have the instance where they stop the wagon so they can have that conversation, and Django's telling him why he's acting the way, like that dynamic, the change of dynamic evolves very well on screen.
So great. That first scene when they're in Daughtry, Texas, when he shoots the sheriff, and then they go inside the bar and just wait for the marshal and everything. This is not a substantive kind of critique or anything or comment or anything, but just the way that the beer looks.
It looks delicious.
Oh my, I remember being in the theater and being like,
I want a beer,
man.
Yeah.
Just the way they shaves the head off of it with the thing. It's just the close shots and
it looks the pour sounds amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
just
it's the best poured beer on film ever.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
It rivals the beer, the animated beer in The Simpsons.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah. So good
well
job,
done,
Tarantino.
Quentin.
Yeah. Awakening some alcoholism in me. He just again, Christoph Waltz has this energy to him. He is he's a scene stealer, and he is someone who commands every scene he's in. And it's so interesting because he's got this energy to him that is so, scene stealy, I guess would be the word.
I enjoy watching the dynamic of him being so overtly joyful and pleasant to some of the worst human beings on the face of the planet until, Leonardo finally sends him over the edge.
Right.
But yeah, his stuff with Don Johnson, when they get to, his plantation is good.
So good.
The dynamic between them. And I love the scene where he's like, you're to treat, Django here as if he were Django Freeman here, just as you would treat me. And so he tells the slave girls you were to treat him. He's like, so you want me to treat him? You saying you want me to treat him like a white man? No, I did not say that.
Yeah.
I love that. And then you pretty much get the idea that he's telling her to treat him like the special needs guy in the middle of town. So yeah, this how he interacts with these people is fantastic.
Incredible. And his interactions with Leo toward the end is one scene that stood out to me is when he's about to make the deal for Broomhilda, and he gets interrupted by Samuel L. Jackson. It's he has this glee, this energy to him when he's going to pull something over on someone, and just the kind of exasperated, just kind of quiet, but just very oh god, this dude's fucking everything up.
You're right.
It's just it's such a 180, and it's so subtle and nice. It's such a good performance. How'd you feel about the whole journey to Broomhilda and Django's?
I liked seeing. I could have watched a lot more of Django and Schultz's escapades through the winter of collecting the bounties. I could have gone a lot of that, but what we got was fantastic.
Totally. That's another thing. I would love to see a not Disney Plus spinoff, but that kind of just a Netflix original series.
Eight episodes of
Django and Dr. King Schultz, and 8 episodes of the Inglourious Basterds. I would love to see just limited series of that.
Right. Yeah, I'd watch it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. So Leonardo DiCaprio, this was his first villain role, I believe, in his career.
Was it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Never played a villain.
I find it interesting that you consider him a villain in this.
Yeah, he's
perhaps property owner.
I just
I'm just kidding. He is very much a villain.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and I thought he was fantastic.
I really thought this was going to be his Oscar year because he is incredible in this role. Like, he's so vile, but he does it so well that you just can't help but, I won't even say you like him, but he's just a great character.
Yeah. He's got like a kind of charm to him, but the charm is from like deep-seated racism and just from a sense of power over others.
Right.
And it's like that comes through, but it's not like overtly threatening or anything. It's like he's lulling you into like this kind of charming thing. I mean, he's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
You know, he he died in the Titanic for our sins. But yeah, he's just so
it's
magnetic.
It's amazing watching him and Christoph Waltz play off one another.
Oh my God,
because those two, it's a great dynamic going back and forth with them.
Totally.
And it's fun seeing, like, the upper hand switches between them like a few times throughout the dynamic of their scenes, and it's very interesting to watch.
I love that you said the upper hand, since it culminates in the handshake or lack thereof. And that was like the tension of that. Just the way that Tarantino can write tension is like, these are two men that are arguing over whether or not they're going to shake hands at the end of a business transaction.
Right.
And like, it's deeper than that. There's more to it than that. But just like on the surface, that is the thing. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, just fucking shake his hand.
Shake a hand, be done, man.
Yeah. And like, I couldn't really remember exactly how it played out. Cause to be honest, I kind of, for some reason, and I'm so happy that this wasn't the case, but for some reason, I had it in my head that Christoph Waltz character died like halfway through the movie.
Oh, yeah. No.
I have no idea why I thought that. And I was so delighted when he remained being alive. But yeah, just like that handshakes, like, just the dialogue is so great, and it's just, it ends so well.
It ends spectacularly. I wouldn't say it ends well, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of shitty too, because they're gonna get out of there, but his actions kind of fuck over Django and Brumhilde. So
it does. They do, but I love how they seeded that with like him, like seeing D'Artagnan being devoured by the dogs, and
right. Yeah.
So like he has that kind of he has that pulling force to him that like he can't live with that.
Right. No, and I get it, but yeah, he puts them in a bad position.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, that gunfight scene is amazing.
Like, there is something like westerns. Like, I've seen a few westerns here and there, like Magnificent Seven, 3:10 to Yuma, Tombstone, like those types of ones. But like, there is something about a good like western fight scene or gunfight. There's something to the sound design of like the revolver.
The revolver, yeah, yes. Bringing the hammer back.
Yes, unholstering it. Like, there's something to that sound that is just so satisfying to me, and it's just like, and then the actual gunfight is just it's really
it's
well
a great gunfight.
Yeah, and it kind of contrast the action in Django with the action in, like, say, Kill Bill Volume 1, and Volume 2 for that matter. Like, it's interesting, like, the blood in those movies is just like fountains of blood and everything. Whereas in Django, it's like that mist of blood, and it's just so, like, it worked for me. Like, when he is kind of, pinned down in the corner and he has to like wipe his face from the blood. It's just like, it's incredible.
Or just hiding behind the body, and the guy keeps on shooting the body, and he's just poof, poof, poof. Yeah. It's
so great.
It is a very well choreographed scene.
Yep. So good. What did you think of Samuel L. Jackson also?
Oh, I love his character.
Me too.
It's a very interesting character too. Mm-hmm. One, Samuel L. Jackson plays it fantastically, and it's one of those. Yeah, he's supposed to be I'm not say evil, but a kind of a bad guy. But it's from a place that it's not really his fault,
right?
That he is the way he is. It's the way that his family's been owned for so long that his personality is embedded within the ownership dynamic of this, of the plantation. So while he's a character you're supposed to hate, you kind of feel sorry for him in the same time.
Oh yeah.
So, and I think Samuel L. Jackson does a great job of like showing that dynamic.
Just like his physical performance in that too.
Oh yeah.
He's, like the way like he moves so slowly, and there's something to his delivery of the lines. It's like it's kind of embodying what you just said. Like he is somewhat evil by circumstance.
Yeah.
It's
a survival mechanism for him, because if he doesn't behave this way, it's to his detriment, but he's been doing it for so long that it's now ingrained in him.
Yep.
So he has no problem being angry that a black man's going to be sleeping and using the good sheets up in the big house, and that this black man's going to be talking to people the way he does. It's ingrained in him now.
Yeah.
And he's so old that it's just the way it's been just beat into him.
Yep. And it's tragic, and the last interaction between him and Django is just it's powerful. Like I fucking love it when Django's like, how many slaves have come through? Like 5,000, 7,000, 9,000, 10,000, whatever, and then just kind of just kills them.
Yeah.
So satisfying. Oh god, I love the gunplay in this movie.
Yeah, it is super good.
Yeah. What did you think, to kind of backtrack a little bit, what did you think of Django's upbringing as a bounty hunter? Like that dynamic? I know we talked about how we wish we would have seen more of them kind of traveling and collecting bounties and stuff. How did you feel about the actual like teaching moments with him?
Good. It was very like a mentoree, or is that mentee? Mentos, the fresh maker.
Yes.
So I really it really showed the evolution of their those two characters too, and the relationship that they share.
Yeah.
They're great scenes. Like any scene that had Christoph Waltz interacting with somebody else was great.
Totally.
It's a great scene.
Yep. And so okay, I can't remember the name of the mining company and everything, but Quentin Tarantino's scene.
He was a bit over the top.
He was. Like, what are you thinking? Like, come on.
Yeah. Like, it's kind of funny.
It is.
But it's
also... I don't think he can pull off an Australian accent.
No.
And, it was kind of cool to see him get exploded.
Blow up, yeah.
That was cool. But it was just like, that was a little much. I did like that it was Michael Parks was one of the other ones.
Yeah, he was the other guy.
I'd forgotten that he was one of them.
I did too until I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. And was the third someone of note? I can't remember.
If he was, I don't know who he was.
But yeah, at that point, when he takes them out and then he gets the dynamite, and then he's riding back to Candyland, just like that moment, like it's scored by a John Legend song, I think, and just like it's one of my favorite moments in the whole movie. It's just like that. Kind of power that he has in that is just really good. Him
and Jamie Foxx and Walter Goggins, the scenes were really good too.
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins.
Yes.
Yeah, those were great scenes. Like he's just a prick.
He is.
And he does such a good job playing a prick.
He's like, I of course adore him as an actor from The Shield.
Right. Yeah, I've never seen it, but
yeah, he was the, basically, and I won't go into detail or anything, but like he was like the co-lead of The Shield. Like he played this just such a fascinating character that he is like this despicable character. He's kind of a mentee of the main, like kind of like evilish kind of bad cop character in it, but he has no moral compass in it, and he's just greedy. So like his arc throughout all 7 seasons is like he's getting into shit that he should not be getting into, and he needs to get like shoveled out of it. And it's such an interesting night, and he plays it so beautifully. And I was so happy when I found out that he was going to be in a Tarantino movie, and I was even more happy when I realized that he had like a much bigger role in
Hateful Eight, yeah.
Like just, if there was one actor who, like, I feel like could, would be very well suited to the Tarantino kind of, troupe of characters. Like, it's Walton Goggins, and I was so happy to see him get that. So he was great. And
Zoe Bell was in it as well, although
Yes.
didn't have a big role,
Right.
but she got to see her again, even though she wore a bandana the entire time.
Right.
But
That was cool.
Yep.
That was cool. What was Amber Tamblyn doing?
who's Amber Tamblyn?
She is, oh God, I can't remember what the show was, but she was in some show where she was like a wheelchair bound, like, Christian girl who, I don't know, but she's now married to the dude that plays Tobias on Arrested Development. Anyway, she's an actress, and she's in like she's in the town in Daughtry when the first time they go to after Christoph Waltz gets him. She's like in the window, like there's a shot of her in the window, like staring down at him, and then she's not in it anymore.
I have no idea.
Like, it's so random and so weird. But yeah. Anyway. Yeah. She's in it, and anything else on it? This is maybe not a stupid question, but I doubt that you'll say yes or anything. Have you seen any of the Django movies?
No,
No. Which I was always kind of confused about that. I didn't do my research or anything, but it's just, it's not like a direct.
From my understanding, there's no connection really, except for just the name.
Yeah.
So
And is the original Django the guy who asks him to spell the name?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I just love let's talk about Jamie Foxx, because we haven't really talked that much about his performance or anything. I love.
Oh, his performance is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So good. There's the scene where he kills MC Gainey and at the plantation, and he's like, "I like the way you die, boy." I'm
Right.
like, that is so.
Got him.
When he's wearing this ridiculous outfit too.
You mean you wore that on purpose?
So good. And Jamie Foxx is just amazing.
And he does a great job playing the black slaver role for Christoph Waltz.
Yes.
So that was a lot of fun watching watching him perform too.
Yes, and I loved that. Like you said earlier, the where they kind of stop and they're regrouping and everything, and like Christoph Waltz's character is kind of breaking a little bit, and it's kind of cool to see that it's like Jamie Foxx that has to kind of talk him,
kind of rein him in. Yeah.
It's such a cool dynamic, for the movie.
Django's horse at the end that he's riding on.
Yes.
That's Jamie Foxx's horse.
Is it really?
It is.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yep.
I did not know he had a horse.
He has a horse.
Wow.
Yep.
That is pretty
Apparently,
cool.
Jamie Foxx is big into the kind of the dressage training of the horses.
Oh,
stuff.
really?
So, yeah, hence why the horse is doing all those little tricks at the end.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yep.
Is he really?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. I had no idea. Awesome.
yeah. He's a horse guy.
Yeah. Hey. Cool.
Yeah, good for him.
Yep. Yep. Not to go into it, but I know that a member of your family is into that.
Yeah.
Have you ever ridden a horse?
I have ridden several horses.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Have you ever? Okay. I can't even do it with a straight face. It's so dumb. Have you ever taken one to an old town road?
Yeah.
And ridden it until you just couldn't anymore?
Yeah, I couldn't anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
I often take my horse to the old town road.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
My nephews are really into that song, and it's really funny because they'll sing along to it, but then after that first line, they'll start mumbling because they have no fucking clue what the rest of it is. I went over to my sister's for dinner a week or so ago, and they started playing that and everything, and then my sister was just looking at me like, "Kill me now, please kill me now." I'm so sick of this fucking song.
Make it your ringtone.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Django Unchained?
This is one of the movies of the Tarantino bunch that tries to sneak its way into number one for me.
And that's really interesting. I am conflicted with it because there's one thing that I didn't really talk about, and I feel like for some reason I don't think the dialogue is as commanding as the other movies.
I think it's the story that does it for me.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's totally fair. Like I love the story, and I love the performances, but I feel like there was something missing to the dialogue specifically. Like, there are a lot of scenes where characters are sitting there talking and everything, and they're great, but it's like, we don't get, like, I don't think of Django Unchained as having, like, scenes where, like, oh my god, this scene of dialogue is, like, comparable to, like, as memorable as, like, the Say What Again scene, or several other scenes that I'm completely blanking on from Tarantino's oeuvre. But I just feel like I don't know. Like, okay, the opening scene of Inglourious Basterds is incredible because of the dialogue and the tension that Christoph Waltz brings to it. And the opening scene of Django is really great too, but like, I feel like there was just something missing in the dialogue department. Like, it didn't have like that signature Tarantino kind of charm to it, and I don't know what accounts for that.
Yeah, I don't feel that. Okay. So I don't know. I thought the opening scene was very Tarantino-esque. The dialogue between Candy and Schultz, oftentimes, especially when they first meet, I think is really well done. Mm-hmm. And the scene where Candy is explaining after he knows what's going on now, and then he brings in the skull and does that big production. I think that was good. I'll give you that scene, but like the other scenes, I kind of feel like they're more driving the plot than, which is there's nothing wrong with that, but it feels like it's more to drive the plot than to entertain us with witty kind of dialogue and kind of like. You might argue that some of the other movies that Tarantino's done uses dialogue as a distraction or a diversion from, maybe not diversion from plot, but like it is first and foremost just colorful dialogue that is memorable and witty and everything. Whereas Django is more plot driven, like the scenes where they are talking, like Schultz and Candy are talking, it's more transaction based and everything. It's more like talking about the actual deals and everything. Right. It's not. I feel like there was something missing in terms of just talking, like in terms of dialogue. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, you got all the dialogue you want in the next one. So
yes, and so let's close up Django Unchained. I don't know where it'll rank. We'll talk about that next time, but. For the most part, it's a very entertaining movie. I will give it that. The performances are incredible, and it's, even though it lacks some of the dialogue signatures of Tarantino's other work, it is still a pretty entertaining movie. So, yeah. Any closing thoughts?
Nope, I love it.
All right. So let's go on to our third of this episode and 9th of the retrospective. The 9th? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because Tarantino counts Kill Bill as one movie. So, our 9th of our retrospective, The Hateful Eight. Here's a clip from the trailer.
This here is Daisy Domergue. She's wanted dead or alive for murder. When that sun comes out, I'm taking this woman to hang. Is there anybody here committed to stopping me from doing that?
Well. Looks like Minnie's haberdashery is about to get cozy for the next few days.
Yes, it does.
So, The Hateful Eight. Fekkes, theater experience. How'd you feel?
Well, I went into this movie with very high expectations because the trailer had me hooked immediately. Theater experience, I walked out of it just kind of meh. Like, I thought it was overly long. I thought some of the scenes were a little bit overly over the top. Okay. And I enjoyed the performances. I thought the performances all around were fantastic, but I walked out of this just not really caring for the movie.
Interesting.
And it was like the first time I'd ever walked out of a Tarantino movie like that.
Wow. Does I was gonna ask a leading question. Like, does that make you nervous for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, it does not.
But so going into it though, were you excited about it?
Yeah, I was super excited for it. I thought the trailers had me hooked. Okay. Kurt Russell looked like he was going to be great, and Samuel L. Jackson again. Like I loved the premise.
Yeah.
So, but I just was underwhelmed by the execution.
Okay. I went into the theater fairly excited about it. I think at that point I was kind of not over Tarantino, but I was kind of like over the hype surrounding it. I think that kind of stemmed from liking Django, but kind of just not really like having a desire to really watch it again. Also, something we didn't talk about in the Django Unchained review, the internet kind of went a little bit crazy and overboard by celebrating Leonardo DiCaprio, which he did he gave an incredible performance, but every like discussion about it always reverted back to the fact that he actually cut his
head. Yeah, everyone was like, oh, okay,
it became like a big meme and everything. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I've read this several times. Like, you're not clever for regurgitating this piece of trivia. But going into the theater and everything, first of all, I was bummed that it didn't, from what I understand, it didn't play at the State Museum in 70mm. Like, I was very excited to see it in 70mm, the roadshow edition of it that they had, the overture and everything,
right.
The additional footage. I really wanted to see it, but it wasn't playing at the one 70mm IMAX screen that we have here because The Force Awakens was taking up the screen.
Damn Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think that Disney like kind of like forced that, like they flexed like
that sounds like Disney.
Yeah, but The Force Awakens was great though. So I mean, that's fine. But yeah, so I was bummed that I didn't get to see that version of it. But when I came out of it thinking like, man, the Hateful Eight, in my opinion, really exercised the strengths of Tarantino as a storyteller, because I was super into the mystery of it, the fact that like the audacity of him to make a movie, like him being such a celebrated and unique visionary filmmaker, like that's kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of a cliched like adjective or whatever, but he is a very visionary filmmaker. But the audacity of him to have like a scene, like a single setting movie, for the most part, it was just like, it was really interesting because like it didn't have those flourishes that can, I don't know, distract you from. Not that he's ever really had like a weak story or anything, but like he doesn't have like, it doesn't have those flashes of like a cool car chase or a gimp and everything. He doesn't have like the room for those types of like big moments. He just has like big moments between characters. And
right.
Somewhat claustrophobic blizzard setting. Which I recently rewatched it in like January, I think, when it was snowing here, and I ended up falling asleep afterwards. So I didn't get to do my double feature, but I wanted to do a snowed in double feature, so I wanted to watch The Hateful Eight and then immediately follow it with The Shining.
Wow, that's a long bit of movie watching.
But I really, really like this movie. The cast is amazing. The dialogue is really great.
There's not a bad cast member in this.
The return of Michael Madsen.
Yes. Again, the Quentin Tarantino seems to be the one person that can pull like a ridiculously good performance out of Michael Madsen.
Yeah. So how did you? So okay. Before we talk about how you feel about it now, having rewatched it, like reiterate, like what did you like? How did you feel coming out of it?
Like I just thought it was overly long. I felt at the time that the dialogue was Tarantino was just trying to be extra Tarantino is how I felt. Like, we get it, you're a clever screenwriter, and I just felt like a lot of the dialogue didn't really do anything for the story. It's just you hearing people talk for the sake of talking.
Interesting.
And, by the end of it, I just felt like, I just felt exhausted from the movie, and I didn't really have any inclination to ever watch it again.
Okay. So now that you have watched it again, you've been forced against your will to watch it again. Did your opinion improve at all? Or?
So the way I watched it again is I watched the extended version on Netflix, which is cut up into 4 different episodes. And I think that helped the movie for me a lot.
Okay.
I actually ended up enjoying it a lot more than I really was expecting to. And I think it was because, I watched 2 episodes one night and 2 episodes the second night. So it really broke it up. So it didn't seem overly long. And this way, I really appreciated the dialogue a lot more and the mystery of the film and the characters themselves. So I actually ended my viewing. Ended my viewing of it. Actually, kind of, I would even say enjoying it.
Nice.
So, and I think that really helped with the breaking it up into segments.
I can understand that. Yeah, because it is a very long and kind of, it commands your attention.
It does.
For a long period of time. I think, I love this movie just because I love hearing Kurt Russell say Domergue. Just the way that word comes out of his mouth is just really great. I do want to pose a question for you. In terms of Quentin Tarantino bounty hunters, John Ruth versus Dr. King Schultz, who do you prefer?
Whew. If I'm going for like a bounty hunter that you would like that embodies the actual bounty hunter, I would say Russell Crowe's portrayal.
Kurt Russell.
What?
Yes.
Russell Crowe? Yeah, Kurt Russell. Sorry, Kurt Russell's portrayal was a lot more like actual bounty hunter, authentic bounty hunter, and so I really enjoyed. Like he was amazing. Like his performance is incredible. Yep. So I have nothing but good things to say about Kurt Russell in this movie.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like seeing, I want to say. No, well, this movie, and then like a year or two later, God, what was that movie that he was in? Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, I didn't catch it. I hear good things.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But like seeing those two movies in somewhat short spans of each other, I'm like, I don't want Kurt Russell to do any other genre than Western. Like, I want him to, he is a Western guy. Like, I want him, like, the rest of his career to be just a character in Western movies. Cause he just embodies that, like.
He does. He so really is a very caricature of a Western.
Yes.
Identity. So, yeah.
And I loved, oh my God, I can't remember her name.
Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Yes, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Really good.
Oh, no, she's amazing.
Amazing, despicable, and...
Although it's pretty jarring at first to watch him just punch her in the face.
Out of her.
You're just like, whoa!
Yeah. Just really, really intense.
Yeah.
Really kind of fucked up. And again, just the way he says Domergue, it's great.
It is good.
Yeah. So the interactions between him and like Samuel L. Jackson and Walton Goggins. Goggins.
Oh, he's incredible in this movie. Oh my
God.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, I was so honestly like, okay, Walton Goggins, I was so I was just so happy that he was in this movie and he had such a prominent role in this movie. And then you get Bruce Dern, who I had just seen Nebraska.
Yeah.
Very soon before, like a year or two before that, and like Nebraska blew me. Like I'm like that movie. Still
That's a good movie.
Blew me the hell away. And just the cast in this movie is just insane.
Yeah. Even the first time I saw it, I would not take anything away from the cast. Like the performances were incredible, and Bruce Dern was so despicably good as this just crotchety old Southern general.
Mm-hmm. So good. So, did you find yourself? So you said that you were kind of lukewarm. Like when you first saw it, you kind of felt like he was being a little overindulgent.
Yeah.
Were you at least like intrigued by the mystery or anything?
A little bit, but I felt like
I know it takes a little bit of time to really kick into gear.
Yeah, like I think by the time that the mystery actually got enticing, I think I was just over his dialogue heavy stuff in this.
Sure.
The first time I saw it. So.
And that's like when I first I was just it felt like a theatrical production.
It does. It very much feels like a stage production.
Yeah.
Stage. It takes almost an hour for them to even get to the cabin.
I know.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and I agree. But in that hour, we get, like, the introduction of Mannix, of Walton Goggins, the Lincoln letter, I think is such a great, like, running bit throughout.
Oh, I do, yeah, that. And I love Samuel L. Jackson's kind of reasoning when he finally says, "Hey, this is why I do it."
Yeah,
and it makes perfect sense.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, you get a really feel for the dynamic of race relations at that moment.
Absolutely. And like when Mannix is reading the letter at the end, it's I love the old Mary Todd.
Yeah, right.
Yes. And then he crumples it up and throws it away. So good. Yeah, so also I really like the way that Walton Goggins says Red Rock. Kind of the running theme throughout this review. That, and then also anytime anyone says haberdashery.
Haberdashers.
Yeah.
Especially Tim Roth's character.
Yes, which, let's talk about Tim Roth. Really like seeing him return to a Tarantino movie, but it is so obviously a Christoph Waltz impression. Like, did you get that impression?
I didn't get that at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Because, like, I read that Tarantino was like, yeah, he wants Christoph Waltz for the Hateful Eight. And, like, Christoph Waltz was like, I guess he had a statement where he said something like he didn't want to be pigeonholed or anything.
Right.
Like, he had already, worked with Tarantino a couple times and he didn't want to be kind of typecast or anything. And, but yeah, I thought Tim Roth was like, he was, there was this one post on Reddit that I was like, okay, you're okay, buddy. Cause he was like, I can't believe, like, I watched, he or she said, I watched the entire movie and I thought that it was Christoph Waltz, and then I realized, like, it wasn't even him. I didn't even recognize it as Tim Roth, and I'm like, really? Like, okay, that's a bit much.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah. But on a tangentially to that, it did feel like he was channeling Christoph Waltz.
I guess I didn't get that impression at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Well, agree to dick
dickery.
Agree to dick around. No, agree to disagree. I thought that for the first time I saw it, I was like, it kind of felt like it was a little off-putting because it just felt like he was just trying to do the Christoph Waltz thing, and like I didn't realize. I think because now I've read, like, in passing, like, things about Tarantino wanting Christoph Waltz for the role and everything, like, I get that that's why, but, like, the more cynical side of me when I first saw it was like, oh, Tim Roth wants an Oscar.
Yeah, I didn't get any of that.
Yeah.
Even after the second viewing, never really made that connection.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really good. he was...
I thought he was a good character.
Yeah. It wasn't... I said this in the... I think we both made this thing, but it wasn't like an abomination or anything. Callback. Anyway, so no, it didn't detract from the movie or anything for me, because it was still entertaining. But it really felt like to me that it was a little
fair enough.
Yep. For a movie that lacks, I wouldn't say it lacks action, because there's some
action.
Sorts of action.
Yeah.
But in comparison to Django and Inglourious Basterds, like, it is a very, like, night and day kind of thing in terms of action versus drama. When the action comes up, like, it was, like, I remember when the blood spewing poison stuff happened.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. It was incredible, but I was also like, no, Kurt Russell, I don't want to see him.
Right? Yeah, he went early. You didn't see that coming, but
yeah. It was intense, and it's just like I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, it was.
If I'm not mistaken, Greg Nicotero worked on the special effects.
Yeah, if you don't know who that is, but
he does, like, he does all the Walking Dead
okay.
stuff, visual effects.
I like the dynamic between Maddox and Bob.
Yeah.
Especially when they're putting the horses up and he's like, sounds like you're calling me a liar. Yeah, it kind of sounds like that, doesn't it?
Yes.
But it didn't say it.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I thought I had a lot of fun with them. Yeah, one of the scenes I really didn't care for was the scene where Maddox is talking to Bruce Dern about his son. And I was on point until he gets to the part where he makes him suck his dick.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you lost me at the end of that.
Yeah, I feel the same way, although my kind of justification for it is that he's, trying to get a rise out of him and stuff and trying to get him.
But
it is
just seemed a bit much.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Yeah.
Like that could have worked out better for me if they had stopped it just a little sooner.
Yeah, it took it a little bit far.
Right, but yeah.
I feel like coming off of Django Unchained, it was interesting to see this movie kind of not return Tarantino to a nonlinear story, but like see him kind of messing with time in his storytelling, like kind of going back and seeing like the setup of everything. I thought that was really clever.
I really enjoyed when they go back and just show how the gang kind of infiltrates the haberdashery.
Yes.
So I thought that was really interesting, kind of how they set it up for them to just pretty much murder everybody.
Right.
And yeah, I really enjoyed that setup. And Channing Tatum did a good job as in his role. Mm-hmm. Was it Josie?
Jody.
Jody.
I can't remember the last. It's a different last name.
Yeah.
It's from Domergue.
Right.
Domingue or something. Dominga or something.
Something like that. But yeah, that whole Tatum.
Gambit.
Jody Tatum.
Yeah.
But the whole setup for that was really good. I like the the backtracking. Like this is how we got to where we're at now.
Yep.
So yeah, that was really good.
Got to see Zoe Bell again.
Yep. And she was chipper again.
Very chipper, very charming.
Yes.
Sad to see her go, but she had to. So.
Yep.
God, it was. I really like this movie. I really do.
Maybe, I'm sure I'll watch it again at some point, and maybe after more and more viewings, my appreciation will grow for it. Because, like I said, I would almost go as far as to say that I enjoyed it the second time I watched it. So
that's good. Yeah, I'm really excited to watch the extended version. I haven't had a chance to watch that version of it.
I couldn't even tell you what was in it that wasn't in my first viewing.
I didn't ask.
But
they came off as stickers. I didn't.
I didn't care. Yeah. But the reason I watched it that way is because I saw that you could do it in episode, and you had told me that they had it in like 4 segments. I was like, you know what, that's the way I'm going to have to watch it because I'm just not going to be excited to watch this, all the way through.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'll have to watch it myself and kind of compare. And
I did appreciate the mystery a little bit more this time around because obviously it broken up and it wasn't so exhausting to listen to the dialogue. But
how did you feel about the lineup scene and Samuel L. Jackson and Walton Goggins kind of doing their kind of like detective thing?
That was good. I really enjoyed that part.
Mm-hmm. Me too. And how did you feel about the kind of the ending where they kind of team up? There's that weird kind of thing where Daisy's like saying like, oh, well, kill him. And
no, I like Daisy's kind of attempting to get Walton Goggins' character to bite on the bait that she was handing him. So I really enjoyed that portion of it. And I like his rationale. I was like, but you know what? I could have been poisoned too, and you didn't say a damn thing.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that, and I like the throwback to if the hangman gets you, you're gonna hang.
Yeah.
So I enjoy. I enjoyed how it ended there too.
Yeah.
It kind of really felt like the ending, the abruptness of the ending at that point, kind of felt like Inglourious Basterds. The way that kind of to me, but it was satisfying. Mm-hmm. So
I kind of wonder if the Lincoln letter and everything was Tarantino's way of saying like, well, it's not as good as Inglourious Basterds. So like him saying like, well, Mary Todd, that's a nice touch. It's like, in contrast to the, this is my masterpiece.
It is interesting. This movie was almost abandoned by Tarantino.
Was it?
Yeah.
Actually, I hadn't read any.
The script, because I remember when this happened, the script had got leaked online.
That's right.
And he almost was like, I'm not going to make it now.
Yeah. Man, I completely forgot about that. I'm sure that the answer is no, but were you ever tempted to?
Oh, no, not ever.
Okay.
Yeah. That was just, I don't know why anyone would be tempted to. Like a script is not going to do anything to, especially in a movie like a Quentin Tarantino movie. So why would I?
Yeah.
I would just zero desire.
I think of all of Tarantino's movies, I think this one would be really good on the page. Just in terms of just like the story and the dialogue and everything. I think it would read well. But I'm in the camp of like, okay, I don't know why anyone would want to spoil something.
Yeah, I'll wait for the finished product. Yeah. I don't need to ruin it, but you know, I'm glad that he was able to make his vision. So, and he went ahead with it. I'm curious if he changed anything from the original script.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You almost feel like he had to have, but.
Yeah. But the finished product, I really
I'll probably wait a year and then give him another watch.
That's fair.
I don't know if I'll ever buy it. Maybe I will just to have a completionist's collection, but I don't know. We'll see.
That's fair. Also, kind of to wind down a little bit, but the like we talked about with Django, like the wide angle, like panoramic views of like the outside, the exterior, as few and far between as they were in comparison with Django, just did a really great job of selling the isolation.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. He has an eye for that kind of cinematography, so. And
it really sold the Blizzard too.
It really did.
Yeah, like from a sound design level, from like the set decoration, everything, the snow, like it felt like they were trapped there.
Right. It was very claustrophobic.
Yes. Which is exactly why it would be in a steady rotation in a double feature, snowed in double feature for me with The Shining.
Yeah, so, fair enough.
Yep. What other movies do you think would make a good snowed in movie watching?
Snowden.
That's true. That is claustrophobic because he's, he's got he puts a Band-Aid on his
cliffhanger
thing. That's not
so claustrophobic.
That kind of opposite of, I guess. Yeah. This was terrible. I can't really think of any snow heavy movies. Dead Snow?
It's not really claustrophobic though. It's a zombie movie.
I guess.
The episode of The Simpsons where him and Mr. Burns get stuck in the cabin.
Yes. Oh, that's a good episode.
It is a good episode.
Yeah. Good stuff. Completely off topic, but are you excited that Disney Plus is going to have all of The Simpsons?
I don't know. Yeah.
Are you a Simpsons fan?
It's on. Yeah. I am a fan of Simpsons up until like season 12ish.
Yeah. Yep. But those seasons are not on Hulu.
No, I own them all anyway. So.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah. I own them all too.
Yeah.
In
good.
A different format.
Stealing.
I didn't steal. I just downloaded, and it's
without the consent of Fox.
Well, I'm gonna get Disney Plus regardless.
That's fair.
But it is perfect if we can indulge my felonious, fallacious? No.
Yep. Sure.
Felonious activities. It's really great because I can have just like random episodes pop up when I play it on my laptop.
Nice.
Sleep to The Simpsons. Anyway, so that's the Hateful Eight. Any parting thoughts?
I can't wait for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Same here.
And there are two bits of Tarantino news that dropped this week that kind of would negate his whole 10 picture I'm done deal.
Yes, let's talk about this quickly. Like I have we actually got some good feedback on the first episode from a friend of the show, Ben Sears, also a patron, and I also he is I think he's also going to be contributing some written reviews to the website. So yes, but he said big fan of the first Tarantino retrospective episode. I was just going to say it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on what you think his next/last project should or could be. So, the news.
So, the first bit of news was that just last week, him and Uma Thurman had discussions about Kill Bill Volume 3.
I saw that, and I also saw this really great tweet that was like, they basically did a pic collage of IndieWire posting their article about that 7 times in one day, like tweeting out that same article. And it's like, it had the caption of like, well, another Tarantino movie's coming out, so let's spam Twitter with an article about the possibility of Kill Bill Volume 3. So yeah, I read that he's talked about it recently, and he said that if there's one movie from his back catalog that could be revived or like used again or whatever, followed up on, it would be Kill Bill. We talked a little bit about the possibility of Kill Bill 3 last time. How do you feel about it now in lieu of this?
I'm excited. I want him to go forward with it because I think it'd be an interesting story wrap up for it.
Nice. And I did do some digging on what he said about his career. Like the 10th movie, he has long maintained that the 10th movie is going to be his last movie, and that he said at some point that he wants to go out on top. He wants to basically he would rather retire after 10 movies because it's a nice number, and he wants to have 10 movies that people can like throw in any one of his movies and have a good time with it. He doesn't want to have like a bad movie in his catalog and everything, which I respect.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
But if he makes Kill Bill Volume 3, he's already pretty committed to his Star Trek vision now.
See, I agree. And this Star Trek thing, I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, they announced, I read today that his vision will be in the universe of the Chris Pine, Star Treks. I'm not as big into Star Trek as you are. I've enjoyed, I watched the first season of the original. I actually really enjoyed it, and I love the new movies.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I'm not really gonna have an expectation of. If he makes this movie, I will go see it and judge it upon viewing.
And that's kind of where I need to be. Where I'm at though is that okay, you're not as big a Star Trek fan as I am. I'm not as big a Star Trek fan as the big Star Trek fans and everything. So like it's not like I have like a big dog in this fight or anything. However, what I'm I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what an R-rated Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie looks like.
Well, nobody does because it hasn't been made.
Yeah. But also it's so far out there, and he says that it's going to be like Pulp Fiction in space, which sure, that could be cool, but also it feels like you said you've seen the first season of the original series and the J.J. Abrams movies. Like, granted, there is a lot of Star Trek in between those, but I feel like there's already been a big enough jump in terms of Star Trek. So, like, from that original series that's very campy and very William Shatnery to the more polished and lens flary J.J. Abrams space adventure kind of Star Trek movies. Like, I don't know if we need another leap in that canon to an R-rated, because a big part of Star Trek is the kind of social commentary and the way that it kind of delves into more like human issues and stuff. And I just don't feel like that's a playground that Tarantino is, I don't understand why Tarantino wants to play in that sandbox.
Well, I'll give him a chance. If it's not great, it turns out there's plenty of Star Trek for people to enjoy.
Oh, absolutely.
Like there is Star Trek.
It's not going to tarnish it's not going to tarnish the thing. I give you a lot of shit about Star Wars, but like the prequels did not tarnish anything.
Right.
Like it's the good stuff is still there. But it's so bizarre to me. Also, I read that he didn't write the script that they're working off of for the Star Trek movie.
Huh, that's interesting.
Which I found very interesting. Like, I'm sure
maybe he wouldn't consider that one of his 10 if he didn't write it.
That's another thing. He didn't write the script, but obviously, I mean, he's Quentin Tarantino, so if he does do that project, he's going to rewrite it and everything, I'm sure. But he did say, there was an article in Vice or something, I'll link it in the show notes. He did say, that's the thing about, my whole 10 thing, that if I do Star Trek, is it technically one of the 10? And he's like, I don't want to, have this whole time saying, I'm going to do 10 movies only to find a loophole and be able to do, because he said, like in his quote, he said directly said like it feels right to go out on an original movie rather than like
I would agree with that, but
yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
He also said in another interview somewhere I saw, I don't know if I can dig up the link or not, but he also said that he was considering, well, maybe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood will be my last movie. Like he's kind of all over the place. So I don't know.
We'll see what his career does.
We'll see.
Yeah, for somebody like that, I feel like if he committed to being done, but an idea popped in his head that he felt passionate about, he'd be jumping right back into it.
And that's what I think is going to be. I accidentally turned on my PS4. Oh. So I think that is what it's going to come down to, is that like eventually like he will retire, like he says that he will, but I'm sure like he's a filmmaker, like he'll catch the bug and do something else.
Especially if an idea pops on.
Yep. So that's our Quentin Tarantino retrospective in the lead up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Super excited for this movie.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to see it. We'll be back next week with a review of that. And it's going to be fun. Fekkes, I want to thank you for indulging me in this.
Thanks for inviting me on it.
Yes. It has been a blast. It's been fun.
It's good times.
So we will be back for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and hopefully it is good. I have no doubt that it will be.
Yeah.
So, we'll see you next time. Check out Patreon, patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. We recorded a special Patreon, exclusive RSS feed recording where I sprang a ridiculous question on Fekkes.
Yep. Sure did.
Yep. And we talked about the Marvel Phase 4, announcements and everything. So, I wanted to get like Mike or Tiny on for like a bonus episode just covering that, but I can't find the time.
Busy man, Matt. Busy man.
So that'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time. And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. Feel like she was never really committed to
she's committed now.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping that like they pay her enough to where she's like really...
I don't even think it's ever been about the money for her. I think it was just the material for her. So
yeah, and that makes sense because those first two movies, especially when compared to Ragnarok, I mean...
Yeah. So I'm pumped for it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the title? Love and Thunder.
I think it works. I mean,
Do you know what I kind of wish that they would have went with?
Something stupid?
Thor Ragnarok. So they could add...
rock and roll. Yeah, that's good.
So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Fekkes, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!